a suffix to my name. I have a few more taglines to my name, which I can add as Sangeeta Param, bipolar, and a person with borderline personality disorder. What are these two things with such big words? They are nothing but mental illnesses. Too serious, right? So let's go back a few years. Let's go a flashback. So it was in November 2014, almost 4 years, exactly 4 years before, when I decided to walk out of home, and I decided that I'm going to come back lifeless. I will get out alive, but when I come home, it will be a body which is not breathing. So I just kept walking on the road. Nobody knew that this was the state of affairs which is in my brain, and I'm just wanting to, I don't know what was happening to me, and I decided, is it the railway tracks or is it the road? Railway tracks were a little too scary and a little too overrated for me, so I decided I will go on to the road. And what we learn in our traffic rules, look left, look right, look left again, and then cross the road. I decided not to look either side, and I will just walk. But my legs had a different plan. They took me to a park. So I went to a park, I sat down on an empty bench, picked up my phone. I don't know why this happened, and I just dialed my dad's number and I called up my father. I called up my father, the phone is ringing, I'm waiting when I could hear his voice, and he said hello. The minute I heard that voice, before I could say hello, I said, I want to kill myself, I don't know what is happening, can you come take me home? I just bursted out. And the reaction what I got from him was, wait, where are you? Are you okay? Is everything fine? So I said, I am not okay, come get me, I'm scared what I'm going to do, I'm in this crazy spot, I don't know what to do, can you please come and get me? And he says, give me 10 seconds, I will call you right back. So I cut the call and I'm counting down, 10, 9, 8, 7. At the 4th second, I got a call back saying, your mother is on the way, please talk to me, just tell me what is happening with you. So I was 20 years old then, and from that, on that day, those 15 minutes till my mother came, I bursted out and I spoke out 20 years of pain, emotions, guilt, anger, mistakes, every emotion, everything I felt for 20 years came out in those 15 minutes. Today, if you ask me, what did you speak in those 15 minutes? I swear I will not be able to tell you what I spoke. I will not be able to tell you I spoke these points. But I just remember it was a dam which was opened that day. The depression was out there. Everybody got to know that Sangeeta Param has depression. So I went home and I could hear my parents speak. All of us listen to our parents, like we overhear what they're going to say. And my dad speaks to my mom and he says, this has happened to me before. So why is this happening to us? Why are we being the victims again? And so to give you a little bit more of a flashback, my grandmother, that's my father's mother, suffered from schizophrenia. So my dad took a wise decision that day that he will not make the same mistake, or at least he would be a better father rather than a better son that he was, where he was not able to help his mother through her depression, but he will get his daughter out of her depression. And I was taken to counselors and doctors, therapists. I was asked to do tasks. Please stand in front of the mirror. Tell 10 things you like about yourself. I couldn't get out of bed. I didn't want to get out of bed. Where do you expect me to stand in front of the mirror and tell 10 nice things? So I was put on medication and I was on 11 pills in a day. morning, afternoon, night, different colors, different shapes, different sizes. And one evening, my father comes to me and he says, there's another doctor, why don't we just go meet him? I said, I'm tired of meeting people. He said, just give me one last chance, we'll go meet that doctor. And I said, okay, let's go. And we had a long drive, and we went all the way, and he's a priest in a church, and I was waiting outside his room, and he calls us in. And my father explains my story, and I'm sitting across him. He's like 3 feet away from me, and I was just noticing the room. It was a closed room, and the 3 walls of the room were covered full of books. I felt like I was sitting in a library, and it was full of books on depression, psychology, schizophrenia, ADHD, so many things. I've never seen that many books in my life in someone's room. And my father explains my story to him, and he says, Param, I need to talk to her alone. So it was ringing in my mind, here we go again. I have to tell my story again. And surprisingly, my dad exited the room, and I sat there. I looked at him. He looked at me. 15 minutes, pin drop silence. It wasn't that awkward silence, but it was that pin drop peaceful silence where I didn't feel like I was a criminal who had made a mistake. I didn't feel like a victim. I didn't feel that I had committed a huge crime where people are throwing questions at me, asking me, what do you feel? Where are you going? What is happening? Why did you do this? Why did you do that? Nothing. He just let me be at peace. And after 15 to a few minutes, front and back, I said, I'm depressed, I'm sad. He said, yeah, I noticed the way you walked in. Is everything okay? That's when I knew he's the one. He is my therapist. He didn't force me. He didn't tell me that. He didn't make me feel like I was being burdened with, what did I expect? I expected to sit in a room where he would sit across me with a book, crossing his leg on a comfortable chair with a pen and a book in his hand, writing down everything he feels, and I would be like, oh, what is he writing about me? Is he writing all comments about me? What is he writing? And you'll be more curious as to what they're writing, but he didn't do any of that. I even asked him, why don't you write a book and a pen? He said, I have a powerful memory. So I was like, okay, that's nice. So that's where my journey started with therapy. So it was a good start. I was put on medication again, I had therapy, and it was a good balance, psychiatry, psychology. So it's like a parallel line. So coming to the science part of it. So then what happened, in 2015 July, I wrote an essay. I've never written an essay after my 10th grade, and I don't know what happened that day. My father told me, why don't you write this essay? I just wrote it, and it won the award. It was a Global Essay Award. I won it, and everybody started telling me, why don't you start writing more? And that's when I started writing. I said, okay, every feeling I felt, and I started observing things around me, and I started jotting it down on paper. My feelings, I just connected it with reality, like reality in the sense like trees and lights and maybe cameras and anything, as a matter of fact. I just connected it with that, and I wrote it down. And I started sharing it with a lot of people. They said, it's good, why don't you publish it? And I published it, and I wrote 2 books as it was mentioned before. So comes to the next question. Why is Sangeeta Param depressed? Why is she depressed? Did she have a love affair? Did she fail in an exam? Why? Sangeeta Param is depressed and she doesn't know why. That's why she's depressed. Seriously, depression is that, where you don't know why you're depressed, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with the fact that I don't know why I'm depressed. I have no reason to be sad, and I'm perfectly fine with it. I accept it for who I am. I accept that I don't know why I'm sad. So another secret I'm letting out here is I used to self-harm. I'm standing on stage and I'm telling you that my biggest weakness, I'm shouting out to the world my biggest weakness, that I used to self-harm. I used to. I don't anymore. Please remember, it's the past. So, why depression? And another thing I want to mention is, my family, to be very showing off, we Params are survivors. So we have my father here who is a cancer survivor, and we battled cancer together, and we won the battle. So we have two survivors, a survivor with a physical ailment, that is cancer, the survivor with a mental ailment, Sangeeta. So everybody started to ask me, oh, Sangeeta is depressed because her father had cancer. And also, people started saying, your father faced cancer. What are you crying about? Let it go. What is this petty things you cry about? Your father faced cancer. He faced the battle of death. And just because my father had a blood report telling him that his platelets were low and his WBCs were high, and I don't have a blood report telling you I was depressed, doesn't give anybody the right to say your pain is nothing compared to his pain. I understand he underwent chemo, he had chemicals in his body, he had his side effects, but I have my pain too. I have my pain, I have my sufferings, I have my... Whatever I faced was completely different from what he faced. So it's very unfair to compare pain. Another example of comparing pain is, say I have a thorn in my leg. If someone comes and tells me, hey, it's just a thorn, why are you being so bothered by it? Do they know the pain I'm having when I walk? Every step I take, I can feel the prick under my leg, but can they tell me that it's okay, I understand what you're going through, when they have no idea what it's like to have a thorn under your feet and you're trying to walk? Pain is something you cannot compare. There's no level where you can sit and compare pain. Now I want to tell the difference between sadness and depression. What is the biggest difference? Everybody says when they're sad that they're depressed. When they're not able to identify what's the main difference. So sadness is that state of mind where you're able to rationalize. For example, today, all the volunteers who are present here, people go and tell them that you did a wonderful job by setting up this TEDx event, and it was organized so well. Won't you get a little bit of spark of energy that, wow, I did something today, and it was nice. I got that little spark of energy even when you're having a bad day. But when you're depressed, if you come and tell that you were the man of the hour or the girl of the hour, it would not matter to you. No matter who says what, it must be anything. Those words would not matter to you at all. So it's very important how to identify depression in people. For example, if we meet a lot of friends after holidays or after a long time, we notice things about them. Oh, you've put on weight, you've lost weight, you got your hair cut, you colored your hair, and we notice everything. But if they don't eat properly, if they're withdrawn, or if they even talk too much than a normal person, do we ever make an effort to notice that and ask them, is everything okay? Just those few questions, is everything okay? I'm here for you. Do you want to talk about it? No, we don't make that effort, do we? We just tend to notice the materialistic things which are visible, which are evidently visible in a person, but the emotional factor of it, none of us bother to observe it. Even if we do, we tend to ignore it because we are focused on the other things. So it's very important that you start focusing on something much more. So there's also this thing that it's very difficult to be depressed and to be in this part of it, because I really don't know how to explain it, because this feelings or this thing is very difficult to make you understand unless you are in that position. So I started giving talks where I got inspired by my dad, and he used to go to give talks to all the cancer patients, and they used to feel nice, nice in the sense motivated, that okay, he faced cancer, I can face cancer too. So I decided I will take a step forward and I will say, I faced depression, I self-harmed. If you are doing it, you will be able to come out of it too. You are not alone. We will start a family of survivors of depression, and we will get through it. It's very difficult, but we can get through it. It's everything is, there is a starting line. And I decided something that, the minute I decided to start helping out people, the biggest reason was I reached my end line. I reached the end line, but I didn't cross it. I started talking about it because every time anybody decides that they are already reaching the starting line of depression, they need to seek help. And not to be afraid or embarrassed or anything, it doesn't matter. Seek help. Nobody's going to judge you. You feel that they judge you. Even if they do, so what? So what if people judge you? You're getting help for yourself, not to prove it to anybody. A lot of people tell me, don't tag yourself, you're bipolar. Don't tag yourself. The minute my doctor said you are bipolar, I had a sense of relief. I stopped blaming myself. I started realizing that half the things that I did in my life was not my fault. It was my brain. The chemicals in my brain didn't work, and that's why half the things happened. It was my brain which didn't function and didn't let me be me.